Hello, everyone. I like Marcus Lemonis of The Prophet, and I am not here to try to tear him down at all. I actually think that he's a pretty decent guy from what I can tell, and he is also brilliant. He's also a billionaire, so he's worth a little bit more than me, and but I do think he's a decent human from what I can tell. Here's the thing, though. I don't want to create a video just to be argumentative, but I do think that there is a missing P out of his three P framework. So that's what we're going to be talking about today. If you are a family business owner or a business owner of any type, this show is for you. We are about creating time wealth on your calendar. We're about creating white space on your calendar and having a business that serves us rather than the other way around. This show is for you. So welcome. So today we are going to be talking about the 3P framework a little bit around Marcus Lemonis. And he talked about people, process, and product. And I think there is a missing P in that. And that is the missing P is promotion. So let me talk about this a little bit in terms of his 3P framework of people, process, and product. I think it makes a lot of sense for a well-running business and for a business to be profitable that those three things are absolutely necessary. You've got to have the right people, which means training those people, hiring those people, having the right company culture, having things defined, and having the right people on the right seats on the right bus. Often what Jim Collins talked about in Good to Great. If you've not read that book, I would highly recommend that. But the other things that he talked about were process and making sure that those people were doing the things that they were supposed to be doing. And now, for those of you who know the Viper method is part of process, right? Or process is part of that. So you've got vision, infrastructure, process, right? And the process includes all of the things, all of the standard operating procedures, all of the things that you're going to be doing that runs on the infrastructure that you create that are all in alignment with your vision for the future. And I think that is absolutely necessary. So the fact that he discussed process is really, really important. And that's part of the system, right? So when he was talking about processes, he was talking about the systems piece, right? Just so I can close the loop for some of you who are not familiar with the Viper method, it's vision, infrastructure, process. And part of that process is also planning and then execution and reporting. So there's other videos on that. I'll unpack that for you another time. But here's the thing in terms of, again, processes. Processes really does include from soup to nuts, making sure that things are done consistently. And that was one of the things that I really appreciated about what he did when he would go into an organization. And he wasn't like the John Taffer type where he would just bang his fists and that sort of thing. But he did take charge. And, it was interesting that he would say, hey, look, I am 55% owner, but I am 100% in charge. Or I am 20% owner, but I am 100% in charge. And he would put in his own capital and he would build out and help build out these processes so things ran a lot smoother. So from an operational perspective, I think this 3P framework is brilliant because then he also talked about the product. And whether that was a product or a service, I remember there was one episode where he actually purchased it was a car wash chain. It was like a mini car wash chain, and the car wash was kind of a disaster. But he stepped in, and so they didn't really have a physical product, but they did have a service, right? So whatever that is, whatever that P is for them, whether it's a product or a service, it's got to be good. It's got to be something that people actually want. And this is where I feel like this is a fantastic way to look at this in terms of an operational function, people, process, and product. But here's the thing, and I've been spending a lot of time in the books of Dan Kennedy. If you have not read any of Dan Kennedy's books, I don't know what to tell you. I think that you need to. Start out with a book called Magnetic Marketing by Dan Kennedy. He is a brilliant marketer. And it was one of those things where I had to stop and in my own businesses, when, like, we'll just take, for example, my property management business. Back in the day, I didn't have the budget to go toe to toe with these gigantic property managers that were in my town that had been here forever. And there was no way their marketing budget was I didn't even make that much in that year in terms of what their marketing budgets were. And they were able to put out full page ads and home and lifestyle magazines, and at the time, forrent.com and For Rent magazines and all these things. Like I didn't have that kind of budget, so I had to get real creative in terms of getting my exposure out there. So that promotion piece allowed me to grow my business way faster than they anticipated, because I was showing up in areas where it wasn't expected. And like putting my ads on shopping carts, right? And people were like, "Oh my gosh, it's brilliant." Well, I may have hit people that necessarily weren't my target audience, but my brand was getting very, very visible all over town. Now, I have since come to learn that type of advertising is really expensive, and I really wouldn't, if I had to do it differently, I wouldn't just go out and brand again. And that's definitely something that Dan Kennedy talks against. He says, you don't have the money of Coca-Cola or PepsiCo or Cargill or General Electric. Don't brand. It's too expensive. You got to have a call to action. And looking at that again, I think I would do that a little bit differently, and I certainly would have saved a lot of money. But that said, I'm not going to try to compete. I'm not going to try to go toe to toe with these people who are well entrenched in my market. So that's where promotion comes in, and understanding. And again, Magnetic Marketing was probably one of the better books, but he wrote another book called Almost Alchemy, which was kind of like an overview of many of the books that he's written. And he's written so many books. It's the No BS series, probably one of the better ones in that series for people who may be watching the show, is the No BS Direct Marketing. And it is really, really good. The other things, again, when you're looking at other promoters like Grant Cardone, I'm not a huge fan of Grant Cardone. I'll be honest with you. A lot of people say he's, great salesman and all that. He's not. He actually sucks at sales. However, he is a brilliant marketer, and he really gets the idea of that, the fact that money follows attention. And I was like, there's actually a lot of truth in that. And I purchased Grant Cardone's marketing course. It was like $600. And by the time I actually got through it, I was like, man, there's a lot of value in here. When I watched, because he kept referencing the Undercover Billionaire episode that he was in, when I watched that, I was actually a little disappointed about how bad of a salesman he actually is. He's way too aggressive, and you have to meet people where they're at sometimes. I really wonder if I went inside the Grant Cardone, mechanism there, inside his realm. I wonder how many chargebacks he actually gets from people who have buyer's remorse, that people, they don't want what he's selling because he was way too aggressive, or his people are way too aggressive. And I know a few people who've been in that realm of his, who have been caught up in their sales funnel, and man, their people are super, super aggressive, and from the Grant Cardone side. And I think that's stemming from him. So I think his marketing is really, really good. Right? I mean, if you get into his marketing circle or geofence, like, you will get blasted in 19 different ways, which is effective, right? And he wants people off his list as quick as possible. He's like, if you ever gotten on Grant Cardone's email list, you'll know, because you're going to be getting an email about every 11 minutes. I mean, it's almost ridiculous. But he wants to get people out of his funnel that are never going to buy as quick as possible, and I think that makes a lot of sense. So from a marketing perspective, I think he's really smart. I just wish he could sell a little bit better and a little bit more effectively, and not just feel like he has to punch people in the mouth. But the other side of this is another person is Alex Hormozi. And I know Hormozi has gotten a huge following recently because he really understands promotion. I've read pretty much, in fact, everything's on my desk right here. I wasn't planning on pulling this out, but I will show you. I've read everything he's ever written. He started, the first book I read was $100 million Offers, and then he wrote $100 million Leads. These are not gimme kind of books. You have to spend time in those books. But he actually wrote a book before both of these books, which was actually Gym Launch Secrets, and I read this one too. The reason why I read all these books, I'm like, well, Mark, why would you read these books? Like, do you really want to launch a gym? No, but I wanted to understand how he promoted his gyms. And that's why I'm saying, like, even P.T. Barnum understood the value of effective promotion. So I think from this perspective, the missing fourth P of Marcus Lemonis' 3P framework, again, do I think that people, process, and product are relevant? Absolutely. But none of that will matter if you don't have promotion. None of that will matter if you don't have a stream of ready buyers coming into your sales pipeline. If you have all of that, you don't even have to be good at sales. You can do well, right? But if you're not good at that, you can starve. You can have a great product and still starve. You can have great people and still starve. You can have great processes and still starve. That's the whole point. So I really do believe that the promotion piece is one that cannot be understated and really needs to be, again, in my opinion, the fourth missing P of Marcus Lemonis's 4P framework. That's all I have, everybody. If you would like to have a conversation around this, I'll post my link in the description, and you and I can chat about how you can promote your business. It's not a sales call. It's just a way for me to give back and help you guys out, the struggling business owner, family business owner, entrepreneur. I'm happy to help any way that I can. Have a great rest of your day, guys. We'll see you next time.